welcome to the third virtual online workshop on palm oil sustainable supply chain and sustainable landscape. Thank you very much for being part of this annual online workshop as a forum that links academicians, government, and businessmen in discussing a sustainable palm oil supply chain and landscape. Thank you very much to the Faculty of Agriculture, to the International Office and CIRAD for supporting this event. Three broad topics, namely deforestation, traceability, and inclusivity, will be presented by experts from various parties, from academicians, the government, companies, and NGOs that related to palm oil industry. I would also like to thank all speakers that willingly and kindly joined this event, sharing their expertise and their experience. Palm oil is one of the most globally discussed commodities in the world, and thus I'm very sure that this workshop will be filled with engaging and fruitful discussions. For this year, we have 13 universities from 6 countries that have joined the workshop, including Pakistan, Thailand, Taiwan, Canada, the Netherlands, and Indonesia. Welcome to all of you. I hope all of you will also visit Indonesia in person in the very near future, because we're also going to conducting similar workshop in person in November from 13 until 18. Thank you.
Okay, good day, everybody. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome everyone to the third virtual workshop on palm oil sustainable supply chain and sustainable landscape. First of all, let me introduce myself first. My name is Rashid, and I will be your MC for these couple of days for this whole workshop. So, before we get into the workshop, I would like to firstly explain the rules of this workshop and also give all of you a brief overview of how this workshop is structured. We will see in a moment this PowerPoint slide. Okay, here are the rules and here are the workshop rules. Firstly, each participant has been divided into 6 mixed groups with 6 to 7 members, and each group has received 1 Zoom account for group communication, discussion, and coordination. Each group is free to decide the time, but require at least record and submit 1 short video of a maximum of 5 minutes of all process, namely the member group introduction, the summary of each topic, and the group presentation that will be uploaded in YouTube. I believe that all participants have already know what group they are in. In your WhatsApp group, I think that you have already known what group you are in and this video summary task. Okay, next slide, please. Next slide, please. PowerPoint. Okay. Second, participants need to attend all sessions from the 19th to 22nd of July 2023. So the rundown details have been attached in the WhatsApp group. Session start at 1:30 p.m. Indonesian time at 19 July and 2 p.m. on Indonesian time for the 20 to 22nd of July 2023. Please fill in the attendee Google form for each day, share it with Zoom chat. The certificate will be given based on the participation. The third one, together with each group members, participants need to accomplish 3 video tasks, namely introduction, summary, and the presentation that will be uploaded to YouTube. Please pay attention to the YouTube restrictions. And please send your video to the provided links, and the task details have been attached in the WhatsApp group. The summary videos and presentations will be assessed by judges, and the awards will be announced on the 22nd of July, 2023. The fifth rule is that all participants need to mute their voice but put on their camera, because this workshop will be recorded as e-learning material. So here are the waiting for the awards. For best presentation, you can see the weight of each criteria. For example, clear message have the largest weight of 30, and raising awareness have a weight of 20. Interesting presentation, maybe you can spice it up with some images or interesting videos, or maybe do some editing of your own. Teamwork is where maybe each member has a clear contribution on what they contribute to the PowerPoint, and the manageable contribution, which adds up to a total of 100. As we can see here, they have 1 is the below average, 2 is an average score, and 3 is above average. And we multiply this by the weight of the criteria itself. For the best summary, we have, you can see here, we have the keywords of the topic, if you have covered it or not, if you have explained the keywords clearly or not, if you have included relevant examples, and again, an interesting presentation, and once again, teamwork, where everybody works together. For the most active participants, we have introduction, perception video, which is your perception, the perception of each member on the topic itself, attendance, Q&A, your participation in the Q&A session, your summary videos for each day, and your presentation video. Okay, here are the group members which I believe have been shared in your WhatsApp group. This is group 1, this is group 2, this is group 3, this is group 4, discussing inclusivity. This is group 5, discussing the global market demand, and this is group 6, also discussing the global market demand. So here are the links for submissions. So for the group member introductions, the video will be played on the 22nd of July, and the links will be shared again, I believe, in your WhatsApp group. The links for the daily summary, for example, for the topic global market demand, deforestation, and inclusivity, will also be shared in the WhatsApp group. All these links, you don't have to memorize them, or you don't have to screenshot. We will share again, so you can just simply click on the link and upload your video. Okay, so basically for each day, I would like to give a brief overview for this workshop. So each day we will have a brief introduction on the topic, and then we will have a pre-test to see your perception on the topic being discussed. So for example, your opinion on the global market demand, maybe on the pre-test you will have an answer of A, and then on the post-test you will have an answer of B. Okay, and then after this pre-test, we will have a presentation session for each speaker, which is the speaker delivering their presentation. Following this presentation, we will have a Q&A session, a discussion session, and after this, we will also have a video playback on the material itself. After all the materials have been finished, after all the speakers have presented their materials, we will finally have a post-test to see if your perception on the topic of the day has changed. So for example, maybe your answers from the pre-test and the post-test are different because of the material that has been presented by the speakers. Okay, finally, I would like to remind all participants to don't forget to make your video summary for each day, for each topic. Okay, I think that's all from me. We will now have opening speeches, several opening speeches from key members of the team. For the first one, please welcome Professor Rudy Ginting, Head of the International Affairs Office of Universitas Sumatera Utara.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear my voice? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Very sorry, I was quite a remote now in the countryside working on some of community project. So I have to put the camera off because the signal is quite slow here. Thank you, Dr. Diana, for having this third workshop. I always join this workshop starting from the first until this third workshop. This workshop is really good raising awareness among students, scholars, and researchers. If we see now that every project, every development that we are going to pursue in the future, we should have some words inserted like sustainable, like eco-green, like eco-friendly, or other things. This has been the concern of the United Nations for all of us. So on behalf of Universitas Sumatera Utara, I would like to welcome all the delegates and participants, including speakers, to share their views, thoughts, ideas, that we can find good solution and plenty of alternative ways that we can develop our palm oil business in a sustainable and eco-friendly manner. I also would like to invite all the participants to join the on-site visit that we can find in November. I hope that you will enjoy the program. Then you will have a good view of what the business is around when you can visit our premises. Thank you also for Professor Zen Roda, CIRAD, Talent, and other partners to make this workshop fruitful and wonderful. Again, on behalf of the International Affairs Office, I would like to officially open this workshop. May you have a wonderful and fruitful workshop to all of you. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Professor Rudy, for your opening speech. And now for our second opening speech, please welcome Dr. John Makroda, the Regional Director of CIRAD.
So thank you very much. I hope you hear me clearly now. So on behalf of CIRAD, I would like to welcome this event, which is not the first. We have done that already last year. The talent program is helping very much University Sumatera Utara to do its own capacity building, but also to do the capacity building of many other students and professionals in different countries. So this is absolutely a new subject, a new kind of action, very intriguing, but also very innovative, supported by the French Development Bank. So it allows us to create a new kind of activity, and also, which is the most important, to exchange at a new level, the ideas on a subject that sometimes, or more often than often, are a bit tense between people, because in different countries, people may have a different vision of the sustainability on the palm oil, on the deforestation. So what we are doing now is seminal, because we are trying to raise the awareness of everyone, to reach a common ground, to discuss in a way which is not passionate, but which is scientific. So again, welcome to all of you, and thank you for being there. And it's my honor to do the second opening speech, and I hope these days will be absolutely fruitful. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. John Makroda, for your opening speech. Thank you very much. And now we will get into our presentations from our speakers. For the first material, this material will be presented by Dr. Joel Makroda, again, the Regional Director of CIRAD.
Okay, I will share my screen if you allow that. Don't be afraid with all the mathematics. I was doing some revision just now. So the screen launch, if everyone sees, you should see an opening screen which title is Discussion about Deforestation. I was tasked to discuss a bit about deforestation. Of course, it is in the context of the landscape sustainability and of course in the landscape of palm oil. But you will see I will be a bit general in order to place a very important message that I rarely hear on here, which is at the end of my talk, the question of the error of propagation. To me, it is the source of all the different vision that people have on deforestation. You hear heated arguments. You hear people say, in this country, there is deforestation. And some other people say, no, we don't have deforestation. What we have is we are converting our land because we need agriculture. Some other people will say, oh, the cause of deforestation is this and that. Often is palm oil. But we are going to see together that the reality is more complex. And that's why we have to me, a lot of source of disagreement between people. So first, we have different types of forests. So here I go very fast. You know, I show you a few kind of forests that you see all over the world. They are based on my own experience, my own career. Now I'm 53. I've been in a few forests in the world, few tropical forests, and you can see with those pictures that I slide very quickly, that you have forests which have very different features. All of them are tropical forests. All of them in those pictures are sustainable, but all of them look very differently. So whether you use a simple tool or a simple filter to understand them, if it is too simple, you will make extremely biased interpretation. Here, for example, it is what people call a plantation, and sometimes plantation is seen as forest by some people. Some other people don't see it as a forest. So now, very quickly, I am opening the concept of there are different sources of deforestation. The major sources that we know today at the planetary level are the cattle ranching. So most of the deforestation on Earth is caused by agriculture, and especially opening the landscape to raise cattle or farm animals. So that is the majority, 95% of the today's deforestation. On this deforestation, you have a small share which is made, this is the red pie in the blue, of timber harvesting. So when you harvest the forest, you have those 5%. So if you want to single out palm oil, it would be somewhere in the blue today, but we are going to see later how it is. So now, if we zoom on the red one, the deforestation caused by timber harvesting, you have to realize that in the world, the timber harvesting is mostly made by Brazil, by India, and by China, and then other Asian countries, including Indonesia, of course. And the 17% are the Western countries, in which you have Europe and North America, which are the small part. This is very interesting because Europe and America and the Western world always speak of deforestation, always discuss about the proper forest management or the timber harvesting as a source of deforestation. But in their case, they have a very low footprint. That's why they are shifting all discourse on all the other developing countries, which have higher footprints, of course, because they are developing. And among them, I insist, the three main countries are Brazil, India, China. Almost 50% of the world consumption economics of wood. So this is also the main drivers of deforestation when deforestation happens in conjunction to harvesting, which is not always the case, of course. So that said, you have another feature that is the main reason of deforestation, which is poverty. Here, you have a relationship that shows in X the area of slums in every country. So every country is shown on this map by its area and slums in X, and in Y, the respondent variable is the consumption of tropical timber. So you realize that the more you have slums in one country, the more it consumes tropical timber in terms of relative consumption compared to the population. So it's a weighted consumption. So that only figure shows you that if you have a pressure on the forests, it is mainly by the poverty, because you can take the slums and the area of slums as an index of poverty in a country. A rich country has very little slums, a poor country has a lot. And a country that is rich and that has developing slums is a country that is declining by definition. So this is corroborated by, in the case of Brazil, where we have good data, 70 years of data of Brazil shows you that there is a linear relationship between what they call domicilios urbanos, that's the urban house, the urban households, and the consumption of wood. So the consumption of wood in Y is really completely related to the progression of the houses, where the people live in the urban world. And you have the same in China, where it's not the domicilios urbanos like in Brazil, but it's the space, the floor space newly built in residential buildings of the urban area. So you see again that in China also you have a relationship between the consumption of wood and the growth of the cities. So actually, we have two factors there. We have a factor which is poverty, and we have another factor which is the growth of the cities, which is normal. A city needs material, it needs cement, it needs steel, it needs wood for its consumption. And you would find that all over the world. Actually, the main drivers of those demand and the pressure on the forest are the poverty and the growth of the cities. So we are quite far from the palm oil, but the palm oil exists, of course, as well. So we are going to deal on that. But before, you have another factor, which is the fire recurrences. In many countries, but especially in Indonesia, you have fire recurrences. So some fire can be criminal. Some fires are just ancient practice by farmers that is still occurring today. The problem is, in the past, when there were very few farmers, and when the environment was not degraded, the fire could happen. It was regenerating. The landscape was regenerating. In a world where you have El Nino, eventually climate change, but for sure you have much more people than before, and you know that the landscapes are already degraded. When you do the same practices than before, the result is not the same anymore, because the landscape, the environment is not able anymore to adapt to those practices. So here you have pictures of the famous haze and fires from Sumatra, and you see that when we did that work in CIRAD, the two hotspots were near Pekanbaru and near Palembang in Ogan Komering Ilir. We are going to focus these pictures are from Ogan Komering Ilir. So you see that you have remnant of forest in the background, but the practices have been already removing most of the forest. So you're in a region where mostly the peatland forest and the mangrove forest were present 70 years ago, but have been degraded over the decades. And now, when you have those practices, including palm oil development, but also rubber and many other agriculture, actually, the landscape is not able anymore to resist to the fire. one reason is the drainage. So that's why Indonesia is trying to fight against drainage to control the water level, because if you drain too much, then the peatland becomes dry and then it becomes flammable. And the fire can exist until you don't have any forest anymore. In the lower picture, you see that as far as you see, you don't have forest anymore in those pictures as well. So that's all the same pictures from organic coming here. So you see the recurrence of fires is a circle, and at the end, when it happens too much, at the end you don't have forest at all anymore. What about the question of palm oil? Of course, for many decades already, palm oil has been accused of the main driver of deforestation in Indonesia. We are going to see together that the reality is much more complex than that. It's not as simple as the equation palm oil equal deforestation. The reality is a bit more complex. So first, I would like you to zoom on the Indonesian landmass. So this is a simplification of the Indonesian map. And if you take all the landmass of Indonesia, you put it together in one big landmass. Actually, this landmass is managed in different ways. The first way is that you have this partition. These are the two main laws that govern the management of the landmass. The one is basic agrarian law in yellow on the side. It's maybe 1/3, a bit more. The other law that controls the landmass of Indonesia is the Forestry Act. This is very different law. It's much tougher. Under the Forestry Act, there are many actions that you can do in the agricultural world that you cannot do in a forest land. You have stuff that are labeled as crime, for example, which are not if you do the same in agricultural land. So this changed already the way. But now you have another complexification. Those lands are partitioned in different kind of lands. In the forest, you have what are called conservation lands. These are supposed by the name of conservation to conserve it. It should stay as it is. So if they are forest, as it should be, under the Forest Act, those forests should start. But we will see that it's not that simple. You have protection land. So here, the difference is you protect the environment. So it's like when you have a water basin. So you use the forest land as a way to protect the livelihood or protect other resources, not conserve the forest as in the conservation. Here you use the forest as a tool to protect human activities or environmental stakes. Then you have the production and the conversion. Production, this is to produce wood, basically, or wood forest products. And conversion, by definition, it is a land that is today under the Forest Act, and one day shouldn't be any forest anymore. It should be something else. It should be agriculture or cities. So this is where, in this pie of the pie chart, this is in conversion where you have the legal deforestation, the deforestation that is already programmed by the state. And if you look the reality now in those countries, in those pie charts, you realize that in the conservation share, you have some primary forest. You have also some secondary forest. You even have a tiny share of plantation forest. And the rest is already agriculture. So you have protection forest where today you have partly some forests, some trees, and partly some agriculture. That's a complication. If you look at the protection forest, you will find the same kind of categories: primary forest in protection zone, secondary forest, even tiny share of plantation, and also the agriculture. Today, a complication of the equation is that you have land on the map that are marked as conservation forest where you have already agriculture, sometimes from a long time. Same for land which are on the paper, on the map, labeled as protection forest, where you have already some agriculture in it. In the production forest, it is exactly the same with different proportion. You have proportion of primary forest, secondary forest, plantation forests or more, and the agriculture, the non-forest. And if you look at the conversion, of course, the share is even bigger or smaller of primary forest and of secondary forest because it is under conversion. So one day this should be entirely agriculture. This is by design. This is the Indonesian plan. And you have a bigger share of agriculture. Now, the very surprising thing is, if you look at the Basic Agrarian Act, that should be only agriculture. Actually, you have a sizable share of primary forest in it. You have a sizable share of secondary forest in it. And you have a sizable share of plantation. That is creating a lot of issues. And of course, all the agriculture is there. It is creating a lot of issues because if I am a scientist and I don't know the Indonesian context, and I'm only looking at my remote sensing maps from my office in Berlin, in Paris, or in New York, or everywhere else, or in Tokyo, and I see land with my remote sensing tool, and I see compared that a few years after, and that land has been cleared, I don't know whether it is Basic Agrarian Act or not. If it is Basic Agrarian Act, what I saw and classified as forest the first time actually was technically agriculture. It was trees in an agricultural landscape. So when I cut them, it's not deforestation legally. So when I see them as disappear, I may class them as deforestation, but the Indonesian law do not see that as deforestation because we are on the Basic Agrarian Act. That is already a cause of discordance between a viewer from outside and a viewer from inside. Another issue is, if I look at the forest land, I may see land, I may see agriculture, and I may believe that it is agriculture. And actually, if I see trees planted there or not planted there, I may interpret that yellow zone on the forest land differently than the way it should be interpreted as well. So when you put all those complications together, you have a veritable, real patchwork of complexity that the remote sensing made from a different country, from a faraway office, cannot see. And you need to go on the land to discuss with the officers, the lawyers, to understand the reality and the complexity of what you see. And the dynamics are very different. Now, if you add the palm oil there on this question, where is the palm oil? Then you realize that the majority of the palm oil is on the agrarian land, but you have some palm oil that is on the agricultural land inside the forest zone. But you see that the agricultural zone inside the forest zone is way wider than the palm oil. So if you look at this figure there, there is no obvious connection, legally or illegally, between the palm oil and the deforestation. Of course, there is palm oil that deforests. That is observable here and there. But at the level of the country, at the complexity of its reality, it's a whole different affair. So this figure alone is explaining to you why you have a difference of vision between Indonesian stakeholder that may apply its law and know its law and know this reality, and between EU, for example, a European stakeholder that may have on his decks a remote sensing map, but may not know the complexity of what we are seeing on this picture there. So the two persons will not agree because they will have different references about the same reality. Now, the deforestation and the remote sensing in itself is a wide subject. I am going to delve there with the Malaysian data. Because this is the work that we did in Malaysia when CIRAD did it some time ago. It has not done yet, the kind of analysis in Indonesia, but we could do it in the future. It would be a very interesting project. What you have on this graphic here in front of you is the forest loss that we are sure is black. This forest loss is coming from timber harvesting, direct deforestation for timber over the decades since 1950. The lines are per 5 years because we have a very good tool in Malaysia, which is the 5 years plan that allows to really know every 5 years what is the status of the land use. So you know by step of 5 years the forest law, and you see the forest loss. So the deforestation for timber mostly were mostly peaking in the 60s and the 70s, and from the 80s it started to slow down. If you put that on that same graph, the palm oil extension, you realize that the palm oil was still very low or not yet at its peak when the forest loss was already peaking. In the worst peak of the forest loss in the 70s, the palm oil extension could account at maximum maybe 1/3 of it or 1/4 of it. And when you see that the palm oil, the forest loss has stopped in black after the 90s, it's becoming slowing down. You see that the palm oil extension is continuing. So you have clearly a disconnection between the dynamic of the palm oil and the dynamic of the deforestation, the forest loss in Malaysia. And you can explain to it because actually most of the palm oil extent was made on the conversion of rubber wood. The rubber wood already replaced the forest in the past since the colonial times. And actually, when the palm oil increased in its extension, about 50% of the area, a little bit more, was not taken on the forest. It was taken on the existing rubber plantations. Now, if you look at this red figure that you see on the right of the graphic, what you have there is the deforestation measured by Global Forest Watch. It's a website led by NGOs that is using remote sensing, and they have their own tool. And according to their own tool, the deforestation in Malaysia was the red line, where we, our CIRAD teams, realized that in black there were not anymore forest loss. So how come we have this discrepancy? Global Forest Watch is saying this is the deforestation. The scientists are saying no, the deforestation is in black is quite lower. So we had a work to try to explain to that. So we single out those Global Forest Watch data, which is starting in 2000. There is no data before 2000. So basically, it's a remote sensing work. And what they show is that they record 2.15 million hectares of primary forest lost since 2000 in Malaysia. That's the red line. And if we put that on a different CIRAD work, we show you the extent of agriculture over the years, the descent of the forest in all Malaysia or excluding Sarawak. So you have the two lines. And at the far right, you have the scientific uncertainty of those figures. And if you plot that on that figures, the Global Forest Watch, it is there. So you have today a reality where if you add to that reality, at the bottom of that reality, let's be dramatic. Let's take the bottom of the scientific uncertainty, and we put those 2.15 million hectares of primary forest lost according to Global Forest Watch since 2000. So that's the red arrow. You could add also the total loss of tree cover by the same website. Those two data, if you plot them compared to the real forest that was recorded by everyone, including the colonial administration over the time, because in Indonesia, the decolonization was a long process, and the forest colonial administration was there for quite a bit after the decolonization. What you realize is Global Forest Watch says basically that in 2000, the level of forest of Malaysia was what other people, the scientists, have recorded in 1975. And if you look at the tree cover in 1961. So you have a complete discordance between the website and the reality. It's totally wrong. The website is basically giving a wrong follow-up of data. So we explain that with a hypothesis. Our hypothesis is that this website is doing a basic work of error in the propagation of error, and they don't realize that every year when they declare deforestation by the need of the media, they probably declare what is the worst, and they accumulate it year to year without to correct it. And doing so, they do what we call error propagation. And when I say error propagation, I give you here an example of analysis on deforestation. The red is deforestation. Every picture is a different algorithm to make the classification of what is forest, what is not, and what was deforested compared to the last picture. And if you look carefully, all of them are different. They look on the same on the big picture, but one picture to one picture, you have many differences. And you have then differences, and then those differences, you can compute them, and it makes a lot of percentages. Here, I show you the kind of error that you can have in those cases. You have a picture of cover, and you have the picture of the uncertainty. And on the graph on the left, you realize that when you have a fragmented landscape with the tree cover that is below 20%, so you have trees there, small patches of trees, which is most of the reality of Malaysia and Indonesia today, the uncertainty is extremely high. Of course, the uncertainty is low when you have a good tree cover. But again, it's high when you have 60 to 80%. So this is telling you that, and if you look at the table, here it's called user producer accuracy, which is basically the same than before and after. You realize that in the categories NF, non-forest, and FN, deforestation, what was deforested in the last period, this is where you have the highest, the lowest certainty. The accuracy is 30% or 40% in those cases for the second picture, so what they call the user accuracy. So you realize 30% of uncertainty, so that means 70% of uncertainty. 47 means 50% of uncertainty. This is the reality of the numbers. When someone like Global Forest Watch is declaring deforestation compared to the year before, the uncertainty that they have can be as big as 30 to 70%. So this has to be taken in account when we interpret the meaning of our deforestation. Very quickly, you have many factors in the remote sensing, and here is a list of them, and showing to them how their errors are functioning. And you see that at every step of the remote sensing, you have sources of error, and they're not only accumulating to each other, but they are multiplying to each other. So this graphic gives you how the error propagation works. You have the reward, you do your spatial data acquisition. Just the remote sensing process, the satellite processing, is the source of error. If you have that error on many different wavelengths, each wavelength is a source of error. Then you create your spatial data sets and you analyze them. You have a new source of process of error. After that, you have information that is called GIS, information. And you are going to interpret those and transfer them into meaning for the humans. Decision-making, or human interpretation. You have again a source of errors. All these errors, what they are doing, they are not only accumulating into each other, this is all the list of all the errors. I go very fast. You have so many sources of errors. What is happening? Those errors, they are multiplying to each other. So this is where you have a propagation of errors after one to each other. And that is in our hypothesis, the main source of disagreement between today scientists that are using remote sensing and let's say, people who are working at the political level using data, legal data from their land use made by legal censuses. So this is where we have to be extremely careful. And I will give a conclusion by showing you the same figures for Malaysia, but now for Indonesia, the forest loss in black. And you see the boom was before the 2000, during the 88 crisis and the big fires at the time. You see the extension of the palm oil. You see, again, similar figure is not correlated. The extension of the palm oil happens after the peak of the deforestation. And in red, this is the zone that we could think this is palm oil that has actually been deforesting. So it has got its peak probably around 2010, and since 2010, the quantity of palm oil deforesting Indonesia is declining. So palm oil, deforestation by palm oil is something that is more on the past than on the future. With that, thank you very much. And I will stop my share. Wow.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. John Makroda. I hope that the participants have gained knowledge or maybe supplemented their perception or even changed their perceptions, because sometimes mainstream media is different than the actual facts. And now I would like to open the discussion session, and while in this session we will have a maximum of 3 questions. And while we wait for the questions to arrive, I would like to tell you guys a little bit about Dr. John Makroda. He is the resident regional director for the Southeast Asian island countries, namely Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, Singapore, Timor-Leste, and Brunei at CIRAD, which is the French Center for International Cooperation in Agricultural Research for Development. He coordinates the CIRAD collaborative R&D and training programs with various partners in the region, which is based in Jakarta, in Indonesia, and has started in the 1st of September in 2021. He focuses his research on the value chains, into industrial organization, sustainability, and the geopolitics of forest, oil palm, biomass, and biorefineries, and other plantation commodities. 6 years, he has been working for 6 years at the Forest Research Institute of Malaysia, and 9 years at the University Putra Malaysia. He is an economist by training, and he has a PhD in comparative dynamics of developing societies at Paris Federal University. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Civil forest officer specialized in the forest industry from the French National School of Rural Engineering, Water Resources, and Forestry. And he has a master's degree in biology of organisms and populations and a master's degree in geography. Dr. John Makroda is also an author and co-author of more than 75 research articles, books, and book chapters. That is quite a remarkable CV, as you all can see. I hope that you will use, participants can use this opportunity to ask questions. Okay. So,
I see that there is already 2 questions. I can start to answer to them in the chat, isn't it?
Yes, please, Dr. John Mark. I would like to give you the time to answer all the questions. Please, Doctor.
Okay. So, in the case of the example I did show, which was about the Global Forest Watch data in the case of Malaysia, no, we didn't have further discussion between CIRAD and the Global Forest Watch. I don't think it's the WRI that is managing that for Malaysia. So I'm not sure, actually. And it was, we did that work quite a long time ago. At that time, we were trying to engage Global Forest Watch in the Congo Basin. So we were careful not to create discontent in the discussion. So we did our work quietly on the side with the Malaysian stakeholders on on the top, you have to also to see that in Malaysia, the subject is very sensitive. So it was initially made as a quasi scientific work. So it would be extremely good if we could engage WRI and have a reanalysis of all of this now. And it has not been done in Indonesia. So it could be very interesting to do in Indonesia, similar work, and to do it together with the WRI to see where are the errors or where they're not. And actually, we are launching a PhD. We hope that we will be able to register a young colleague from France to do a PhD on this specific issue, question the methodological errors, the propagation of the errors in the system, and how that is polluting the interpretation. So if we manage that, I hope you will be welcoming our PhD students to work with you as well in USU or in other places of Indonesia to push further the understanding of those errors, because we cannot have a good political debate if we're using data that on which we are not having the same agreement from one side to the other side. Of course, if we have different vision, if we're not speaking of the same thing, we are speaking like deaf people. We are not speaking of the same objects, and then we are fighting. So that's for I call for a discussion with the Global Forest Watch and a scientific analysis of it, which demands time and money, of course. So next one was, there's another question, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, that's not the crux of the problem. Every country is sovereign, so every country has his sovereignty to declare what is agriculture, what is forest, what is going to stay as forest, and what is going to be converted. Every country is totally rightfully able to say, this land today has trees, but I declare as agriculture. So those trees will disappear one day because I am the country and I say that I need this agriculture to feed my people. No discussion. It's sovereignty. If a country makes such a declaration, another country has no power to say no. The problem is that is between diplomats. So a diplomat of one country will never dare to say to another country, I challenge the fact that you declare that as agriculture or as forest. The problem is the scientists will dare. And many scientists will say, hey, I measure with my remote sensing that day by day, your tree cover is decreasing. So the tree cover is one definition, is covered by trees. But the state of Indonesia or Cameroon or whatever country, or France or Russia, say, no, this is agriculture. So I may have trees on my agriculture zone, but the vocation of the land is to be agriculture. So those trees can disappear. It won't be deforestation. That is a legal definition. So yes, a country is totally entitled to change the status of its land anytime. I did show you the pie chart where you see that in the land of what is forest, you have already some agriculture. And this agriculture is there since a long time. In most of the case, it is transmigracy farmers who move there, and they don't have a map. They cut somewhere in the forest to create their plot. And at the time, nobody was there, not even the government, to tell them you are on a zone that is rightfully agriculture, or you're in a zone that is rightfully forest. It is done. They did it sometime decades ago. So you find yourself now as a government with a map that tells you this is forest, this is legal forest. It was decided a long time ago. But what I see in a part of that legal forest, I see agriculture by people, most of them without land title, but they are there. What should I do? They are voting for the governors. They are voting for the Bupati. So should I push them out without any resource, creating new poor people, creating conflicts, fights? I'm sure that the governor won't be elected or the Bupati won't be elected if I do that. Or should I find a solution to appease it? One solution is, okay, since they are there, since they have taken the land, those people, I have no choice than to declare it as reclassify it as agriculture. So I reclassify it. It's a legal move, and no other country can say. But many people and scientists and activists will say, yeah, what you're doing now is terrible. You're legalizing deforestation. And they were accused Indonesia of doing it. But it's a matter of perspective. You have another way, which Indonesia is doing. It is a slow but strong reform of the forest land, where you have what they call in Bahasa Indonesia KPH, Kawasan Pelalongan, no, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it correctly, Pelalongan Hutan, where actually the units of management, you have people that are trying to negotiate with the farmers that are there on the land. That is the forest, but their land and their farms. They have cut the trees a long time ago. So the forest officers are trying to do some land swap, to say, okay, we are not going to push you out, but please give me back that land. I give you another one. And then you can do your agriculture better. I will even help you to do this agriculture. And if I do that, and if we negotiate, we may be able to together, very slowly, but together, restore the landscape, restore the forest. So this is a tool as well to exist. So if I should answer, yes, a country can change the status. But one way to do is to try to negotiate the landscape itself and to make everyone happy, to still keep the agriculture, because you need to have the agriculture to feed the people. There is maybe another new message.
Okay, there is one more question. Do you have the time, Doctor, for one more question?
Oh, yeah, that was my very short presentation. We have an hypothesis, which is that when you do any remote sensing work on forest may contain minimum of 30% of error. So when you have a result by the remote sensing machine, as sophisticated as it is, you have always a result, for example, deforestation observed, 100 units, plus or minus 70, or plus or minus 30. So this is the result. The result could be 100. If it is plus or minus 30, the real deforestation is 130, something between 120 and between 70. But if I am an NGO and I need to have some visibility and I need to show some stuff and I need to do some news in the newspapers, I need to be sensationalistic. So I need to make sensation. So of course I will not say that deforestation was 70. I will say deforestation was at minimum 170, 130. I take the worst of the number. And if I do that every year I take the worst of the number that I see. And I don't correct that year to year to say, okay, now I do a work of putting all that at one level, and I realize that since the last 5 years is not that much, but it is an average of a bit less. If I don't do that, I end up to have a drift that can be far from the reality. This is the hypothesis that we have at the current time. Solution about that would be that NGOs would be not NGOs, that they would be scientists, because scientists are supposed to be rigorous. And when they give a result, they give a plus or minus, and they say, no, it's not 100. It is somewhere between 70 and 130, and the most probable could be 100. But that's what the scientist does. So can we have NGOs talking as scientists? This I don't know.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. John Makura, for answering all of our questions today. I think we have to. I think we have to close this material, and I would like to thank you for taking the time of the day to present this material to us and answering all our questions. Thank you very much, Dr. John Macarena. I hope to see you on our next event.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Okay. And now we move on to our second speaker. Okay, we would now move on to our second speaker, Mrs. Nidya Kartikasari, the Director for the American and European Interregional Cooperation, Director General of American and European Affairs. You can see here that she was educated in Pajajaran University in West Java for her bachelor's degree. For her master's degree, she went to the National Graduate Institute for Policy Studies in Tokyo, Japan. And she took her PhD in the National Graduate Institute for Policy Studies in Tokyo, Japan again. And we can see her experience in the next column, which is firstly the head of the Deputy Director and the Coordinator of American Region. She has also been the head of the Division and Planning and Organization of the Secretariat of the Director General of American and European Affairs at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. She was also the head of Division of the Analysis and Promotion Division in the Secretariat of the Director General of American and European Affairs at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. She was also the head of Chancery or the Council of Economic Affairs at the Indonesian Consul General in Shanghai. She was also the head of the subdivision of the Regulations and Legislation in the Secretariat of the Director General of Asia Pacific and African Affairs, Ministry of Foreign Affairs. She was a desk officer for Japan and Korea Subdirectorate at the Directorate of East Asia and Pacific Affairs at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. She was a political section officer at the Indonesian Embassy in Tokyo. She was a desk officer of Subdirectorate of Finance in the Secretariat of the Director General of American and European Affairs at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. She was also a desk officer of the Subdirectorate of Malaysia, Singapore, Philippines, Brunei Darussalam, and Thailand at the Directorate of East Asia and Pacific Affairs at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And she had first on-the-job training for junior diplomat at the Indonesian Consulate General in Osaka. Without further ado, I would like to present to you Mrs. Nidya Kartikasari. Please welcome Mrs. Nidya Kartikasari.
Thank you very much, MC, for the generous introduction. Well, my name is Nidya. I'm a diplomat by training and by profession. And thank you, Dr. Rhoda. I learned a lot from your presentation. I think it was an interesting perspective from CIRAD. And first of all, I will talk about this from my current profession, of course, from the diplomat's perspective. So if it is allowed, I will do my best to share the screen, the presentation. We would like to see the impact of the deforestation regulation in other parts of the world towards Indonesia. I was given, I will focus on the European Union deforestation regulations, but I will also touch upon the other regulations out there. Can we go to the next slide, please? Colleagues, Professor Diana must also very familiar with this. We have seen currently the proliferation of the deforestation regulations. Maybe some of you has been familiar with the EU deforestation regulations, which has entered into force in June last month. With the scope of the scope could be different, but we have seen that there are this proliferation of regulations. It is unilateral, but it will affect the producing countries or countries that has forests in this regard. Other than EU, UK also has it. It will regulate different kind of products and commodities, and we also see the U.S. Forest Act in the United States, where it also regulates different kind of products. What does it mean? It means that the consuming countries or the consumer in the in American and European region has this, let's say, has this mindset of to regulate. They don't want to consume products that source coming from the deforestation products. And what are the requirements? The requirements, usually they want at least due diligence statement, which is a declaration that states that these products do not come from deforested areas. It is deforestation free, legal, and have that due diligence statement. And what does it mean for Indonesia? If we go to the next slide, we will see that the EU that has this EUDR entered into force last month, and this sets a benchmark on many other countries. We see, like in this newspaper, the EU ban on deforestation linked goods sets benchmark. So we will see proliferation of this deforestation regulation elsewhere in the world. Because of this mindset, they don't want to consume products that come from deforested areas. Now, if we go to the next slide, I would specifically discuss about the EU deforestation regulations and the key articles and how it will affect us here. For the Article 1 and Article 2, for the scope of relevant commodities, it will affect commodities that come from palm oil, wood, coffee, cocoa, rubber, soya, and cattle. For soya and cattle, it may not affect Indonesian farmers. It may affect other part of the world, but let's see about these 5 commodities. These are the 5 major commodities from Indonesia, and the cutoff date will be 31 December 2020. It means that the products that enter the EU market must not contain or have been made using relevant commodities that were produced on land that has been subject to deforestation after 31 December 2020. If we go to the next slide, this specific regulation, it prohibits in the Article 3, start from 30 December 2024, the relevant commodities may only enter the European Union market if there are 3 categories. 1, deforestation free, and B, produced in accordance with the relevant legislations of the country of production, and C, covered by a due diligence statement. This will cause many burdens to most of our farmers because, for instance, for the palm oil, we all familiar that we have the ISPO or some other, they have RSPO, but it is not enough because for the EUDR is those kind of certification only cover the B requirements. So it still needs to prove that it is deforestation free, and it the operators need to have a due diligence statement. And how about our timber? Because we also have a long negotiated FLEGT PPA, SPLK. As you know, this kind of certification is not cheap. It's especially for farmers, and still it doesn't satisfy the requirements of the EUDR. And in the next slide, we will see that the requirements. What are the requirements? According to the Article 9 and 10, the operators, so they, of course, they regulate the operators in the EU countries, these importers, but they will import this from the producing countries, including Indonesia. They must collect and keep for at least 5 years as much as data and information as possible regarding their products. Name, HS code, country, and location of production or geolocation. Based on the data required, operators must verify and analyze the information and ultimately carry out a risk assessment. Now, let's see on the Article 16 and 29. This is the articles that are very controversial. Many other countries are not really happy with these articles because based on this EUDR, the competent authorities in the EU must carry out checks on the operators and traders based on the level of risk assigned to the country of origin of the product. So the risk level are low risk, standard risk, and high risk. For the low risk, there will be a simplified due diligence. It means the products that are being imported, 1% will be checked. And standard risk means the 3% will be checked, and the high risk, it means 9% will be checked. And for the first 18 months, 3% of the products will be checked. So this will be against, for instance, for the SPLK or the FLEGT PPA, where we have the agreement with the European Union already, where it should be 0% check, it should be green lane. Our product should be able to enter the EU market freely, but due to this new regulation, this will impact the checking and the due diligence statement that will affect the farmers and the exporters. And the country benchmarking system, it said that it will be based on one, the rate of deforestation and forest degradation, and B, the rate of expansion of agricultural land for relevant commodities. And I'm glad before Dr. Roda mentioned that the production of palm oil, it's not really related to our deforestation. And C, the production trends of relevant commodities and relevant products. Now, if we go to the next one, another why this regulation is controversial, because it has penalties. And based on the Article 26, should operators and traders infringe the EUDR, they will be penalized in the forms of A, fines proportionate to the environmental damage, and B, confiscation of products, and C, confiscation of revenues. While the Article 30 is mandated cooperation with third countries, particularly those who are classified as high risk. Mind you that for the first 18 months, all countries will be considered as standard risk. And the Article 38, it will start entry into force start from 29 June 2023, which means just about 3 weeks ago. And by 30 December 2024, it will be for all obligations for all operators. And by 30 June 2025, it will be obligation for all SMEs in the European Union. Now, what have we done? As with other 13 like-minded countries, we have submitted a letter to all relevant institutions in the European Union. It's a joint letter on the EU proposal for deforestation free. We submitted on the 27 July 2022. And we also, Indonesia and Brazil has also made this document as an official document at the WTO Committee on Agriculture on 28 November 2022. Because first of all, we think that the nature of the regulation is unilateral and do not respect the sovereignty of the developing countries to determine and to regulate the forest state in our country. And if we go to the next slide. At the end of the May, Indonesia and Malaysia organized a joint mission for palm oil. We met several high-level officials in European Union to raise our concerns about this new regulations. And as the follow-up of that joint mission, there will be a trilateral joint task force between Indonesia, Malaysia, and the European Commission to ensure a fair and non-discriminatory implementation of this EU deforestation regulations. And if you go to the next slide, we also asked how are the industries and operators in the EU. They have shown mixed responses in their ability to comply with the EUDR requirements. The palm oil and paper industries are very concerned with the EUDR, And while the timber or wood industry is confident in their ability to fulfill the EUDR requirements, and while if we survey that the cocoa and coffee industries, which are comprised of mostly SMEs, are not particularly aware of the EUDR. And now we want to specifically talk about the consequences of the EU deforestation regulations. According to the paragraph 9 of the preamble, it says that operators are encouraged to use the Galileo Global Navigation Satellite System, GNSS, developed by the European Union Space Program. And they are encouraged to use mobile phones application available both in Android and for iPhone users. And the geolocation requirements will be latitude and longitude coordinates for lands under 4 hectares and polygon coordinates for lands over 4 hectares. And that this data must also include the date of and time of production. This will be controversial, especially for Indonesia, because the definition of smallholders in Indonesia is actually 25 hectares. So what happened to smallholders between 4 until 25? This is something that needs to be addressed also for our future arrangement if they want to export their products to EU. And according to the Ministry of Agriculture, the Indonesian smallholders that will be affected by the EUDR for the palm oil, it's around 6.3 million hectares of land, and it will affect 2.6 million smallholders. And for rubbers, it will affect 3.4 hectares of land, and it will affect 2.1 smallholders. And for coffee, because most of the coffee are planted by smallholders, it will affect 1.2 million hectares of land, in which 1.8 million are smallholders. And for cocoa, for instance, it will affect 1.3 hectares of land, and it will affect 1.5 million of smallholders. And upon this implementation of EU deforestation regulation, of course, the government has conducted several reflections. And for the way forward for this, because we are very much aware that this kind of requirement of this kind of proliferation of regulations to ensure that the products are from deforested areas, the consumer wants this, will be proliferate further in the future. So what we can do as a way forward is we should improve the available domestic systems to strengthen our own certification schemes for all relevant commodities that covers the upstream and downstream industry. And according to colleagues from the Ministry of Industry, this is very possible because, for instance, they have developed an application called CIRAD that can trace the cooking oil from the downstream up to the from the upstream up to the downstream industries. And of course, we have to improve our domestic database. According from the colleagues from the Ministry of Forestry, we have a database of the of our forests since early 2000, and it has been consistently used. And we should be able to promote it and ensure that it will cover a comprehensive and reliable database in the central government and also in the local government in order to respond to the requirements of the EUDR. And for the external way forward, of course, us in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and also colleagues from Ministry of Trade will ensure market access through diplomacy, through promotion and advocacy. And we will maximize the use of the current ongoing Indonesia-European Union Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, or the SEPA negotiation, to voice our concern, other than other international organizations that we have used, like the WTO. And I think that will be all of my presentation. I'll be grateful for any discussion that we can address in the discussion section. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nidia. Because there's a lot of biased information in palm oil, so I hope that with bias comes misinformation and so on. And I hope that participants can can have their perceptions cleared by your presentation today. So without further ado, I would like to open the discussion and Q&A session. As usual, we will have 3 questions maximum, and I will again give the time and place to Nidia to answer the questions.
Thank you. Yes, one of the, of course, China and India is the big buyer, of course, of our palm oil products. EU is just 9 until 10% of our products. But we need to address this kind of regulations because it will affect the other buyers. If you think that other palm oil importer will not easily follow the EU rules, maybe. But what happened to those who, because this regulation will affect not only, it will also affect the derivatives of the products. So if I heard from some of our exporters that even some Chinese importers now, if they export their derivatives products, for instance, they buy the CPO from Indonesia, and then they make it into other products, derivative products, and will sell it to Europe, they want to make sure that they will comply with the European Union regulation. So even buyers from China and India, they need to have that certification if their derivative products market will be in Europe. So if you think this will not affect us further, I think we have to be careful about this statement. We cannot be complacent because at the end of the day, as always, this regulation will set standards and benchmark to other countries. I think that's how I will answer this question.
Okay. So, Mr. Andi, is your question answered? It's satisfactory? Mr. Andi?
I think it is enough. Thank you, Bu Nidia.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Andi. We will now move on to the next question from Denny Arifin. Mr. Denny, please. Would you like to add to this question, Mr. Denny? If not, Mrs. Nidia would answer it straight away.
Okay, I think it has been raised by many associations. Of course, we have other markets. I think the discussion among the associations now and also by the government, we need to differentiate the source of our products and channel it to different kind of market. For the industries that already has the capacity to export the products based on the EUDR regulations, they will not be affected by this. And many of the big industries are able to maintain their exports to Europe, even under this EUDR. But how about smallholders? Some ways are to redirect their market. They're not going to sell it directly to the Europe market, but also they can sell it to other market. And as far the government is concerned, I think the Ministry of Agriculture has set the standard that they will start to have certification schemes for ISPO for, I think they call it ISPO Pekebun, ISPO for smallholders. Start doing it now, and slowly but sure, this ISPO will also not only for the big industry, but also for smallholders. So the government is doing the certification scheme to ensure the sustainability of the palm oil products through this ISPO for Pekebun.
Thank you, Mrs. Nidia. Mr. Denny, would you like to add on to the question, or is this enough?
It is enough. Thank you, Ms. Nidia.
Okay, now, thank you, Mr. Denny. We now move on to Dr. John Mark's question. Okay, please, Mrs. Nidia.
Thank you, Dr. Roda. Well, actually, I'm not coming from the Ministry of Agriculture nor the Ministry of Forestry. But so I'm not sure what kind of tools of geographical indication to be used for the oil palm smallholders. But based on our discussion, we have this National Action Plan for the Sustainable Palm Oil, and one of the director in the Ministry of Agriculture said that if the requirements of the European Union is actually coordinated by 4 hectares, then they may lower the standard for the ISPO Pekebun, so that it will be based on the coordinates as well. I think that's the discussion that we're under discussion now. And development of digital agricultural tools that we witness. Of course, we see that there are proliferation of digital agriculture at this moment. But I cannot really say on behalf of Ministry of Agriculture what kind of tools that they will be using. I think it will be good to invite Dr. Prayudi in the future that is really involved and in charge of this matter.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Nidia. Dr. John Mark, how is the answer? Is it are you satisfied?
No, thank you very much. Very good answers. Thank you. Very insightful.
Okay, thank you, Dr. John Mark. And I think that there is one more question. Mrs. Nidia, do you have the time for one more question?
Yes, sure.
Okay, this is from Ms. Maria. Time and place is yours.
Okay, so the negotiation of Indonesia and EU 16th, it's been 15th round and it's not yet be concluded at this moment. There are specific chapter called Trade and Sustainable Development. In that chapter, Indonesia is doing their best to promote the local requirements and local certifications such as ISPO will be accepted as the green lane to enter the EU market. So that's what we're trying to do. But of course, the chapter is not yet closed. It's still under negotiation. And we hope for the best that this chapter will be closed soon to serve the interests of both the regions, both Indonesia and EU.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Nidia. I think that is we have to close this Q&A session right now. So once again, I would personally like to thank you, Mrs. Nidia, for taking your time for us. I don't know what time zone you are in right now, so if it's a little bit late at night or maybe very late at night, I double thank you for taking your time for us to present your material today. And now we would like to present to you a certificate from us. Here it is, the certificate. We hope to see you in our next events. We hope to see you very soon. Thank you very much for today.
Thank you very much, Ibu Diana and everyone, and also Dr. Rhoda. I hope to see you all in person soon.
Thank you, Ibu. Thank you, Pak Rhoda.
Thank you very much to all, and hope to meet you as well in Jakarta or in Medan.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, now we move on to Professor Alain Rival, but he is not able to be with us here today because he's a little bit sick. So he has sent us a video to watch, and therefore there will be no discussion session. So here's the video from Professor Alain Rival.
Hello everyone, I'm Alain Rival, I'm a professor. I'm very happy to be joining the group today and to present you what we're doing for the Talent Initiative. I'll try to share my screen and try to introduce the Talent Initiative and briefly showing how it is connected with the present CSSPO workshop here in Medan. Yes, so bring your talent. The idea of talent is to put together several initiatives occurring in Southeast Asia in order to propose a training program for sustainable plantation landscape in Southeast Asia. The idea is to bring together several universities and research institutions in order to promote and engage in a new way of considering sustainable agriculture, and especially sustainable plantation landscapes. Our idea is to share a vision for this sustainable plantation landscape. We want to bring together and to educate a new generation of managers dedicated to those perennial plantations in Southeast Asia. And for that, we propose the beginning, the start, the first seeds of a renovative training system. Because what we know while visiting plantations and discussing with young managers and seasoned managers, they all say that they are facing an increasing number of sustainability issues. More and more sustainability questions are on the shoulders of the plantation managers. So slowly but surely, the plantation managers are becoming the new sustainability managers. It's the same job. What was formerly a job of basically growing a crop becomes now a very complicated series of tasks, which is making the job more and more interesting, but more and more demanding. Look at the kind of challenges that the plantation managers have to face. There are only 4 here, but there are many more. Anticipating and adapting to climate change, delivering quality products with food traceability, organizing this traceability, taking care of the communities inside and outside the plantation, communicating to the civil society what's happening in the plantation. The door is open. You can come here and see what we're doing in terms of sustainable management, being open, being ready to communicate. This is one of the challenges of the plantation manager now. And also, the sustainability manager is also in charge of the protection and the description of biodiversity and environmental services inside the plantation and around the plantation. So it's a very long list of tasks to be performed. So what we're going to do, we cannot do everything every time because we have a limited amount of time and resources. What we want to do is to update selected ongoing training courses, things which are already existing, which are okay, and people are happy with that. Just what we want is to share this success story and make them bigger, so that instead of having 1 or 2 universities sharing their program, we can have a series of 6, 7, or 8 different universities in Southeast Asia able to share the students, to share their grounds, their place of study, so they can enrich their experiences. We like to use a multidisciplinary body of experts, not only agronomists, but also foresters, people who are specialists of biodiversity. This body of experts are people who are working the plantation, and there are job to do inside the plantation. We want to educate in the campus, but also on the ground. We want to have this openness, this quality of bringing the students on the field must be the trademark of talent. Research and innovation, which is really what is making the world moving, new innovations in terms of manpower, in terms of sustainable use of recycling, the organic matter, new cultural practices. All these changes are directly farm research. But to make farmers entrepreneurs, want to make me aware that they can do a lot of things in their plantation, even if it's a small plantation. They can do agroforestry, they can do waste recycling, they can do a lot of things inside their small estate or their small holding. So becoming more and more efficient, more and more sustainable, and becoming entrepreneurs. And what we want also is to be sure that the students and the young professionals who are training will find their place in the marketplace, so they can find a job which is related to what they have learned at the university. So what we want also is to renew the contents of these modules. We want to connect our students to the international agenda on environment. There's a lot of things happening. The Paris agenda on climate, the climate change groups, the Paris Agreement, all these steps are very important, and we must be sure that our students are connected to this changing world. This connection will help in revisiting the plantation model, which is 1 century old and needs to face new challenges, not only the climatic challenge, but also the manpower challenge. The plantation world is facing hard times, and it has to undertake a very deep mutation right now. Adaptive agroecology is a way also to change the way we're doing agriculture, being less intensive, using less fertilizer and pesticides. And also we want to show a student that it's possible to design new approaches for the commodity trade based on the labels, based on the quality standards, just like RSPO for the oil palm, or the other standards for any other commodity like FPC for timber. These standards are shaping the way we are trading commodities. Markets are opening, markets are closing, because you have or you don't have access to this type of commodity, which is certified or not. So these are the few of the modules we'd like to renovate. It's still open. Our colleagues in universities are having ideas every day. So this is the kind of thing we like to do. We cannot do everything everywhere. So we have chosen 4 target countries: Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, and Vietnam. 4 target commodities: rubber, oil palm, hardwood, and pulpwood and firewood. There are also some boundaries in our target audience. Students, of course, at master's or undergraduate level, but also plantation managers, people are already in charge, cooperative managers also, and also bank executives, because it's a request from AFD, and it's a very interesting way of doing by integrating bank executives in our work on sustainable landscapes and sustainable plantations. Without the bank executive, without the banks, we will never have the money to induce changes and to convince, especially the smallholders, that those changes are necessary. So bank executive it's a very important part of our audience in the talent project. This is the timetable, what we are planning to do in the coming 5 years until the end of 2025. We have signed MOUs. We have already organized 1 year of activities, and we still have 3 years to continue our educational activities in 4 countries of reference. The program is being designed by CIRAD, and a staff from CIRAD based in Jakarta in Indonesia. And the funders is the AFD, the French Agency for Development. And if you have any question, I'll be happy to answer to them, written questions or through the chat box whatever you'd like, in order to discuss more about talent. With that, I thank you very much. I say bye-bye to all of them. Too bad I could not join you because I'm quite busy at the moment, but I wish you a very interesting workshop and very interesting series of discussion. And I say bye-bye and hope to see you soon in talent or around the activities of CSSPO. Bye-bye. Thank you very much.
Okay, there's the video from Professor Alai. Once again, we are sorry that he's unable to be with us today. Because if you're sick, you can come. Why would you force your body to come anyway? It's not good for you. And now I have another video on palm oil. Please, what's the video?
Yeah.
The cluster time for the other.
Yeah.
أظن كمان يوصل للعزم.
Okay, there it is, the video. I think there were some sound difficulties, some sound malfunctions, but I think the video got its point across that palm oil is a major part of our everyday lives. Well, at least for most of us. And now we will move on to our next speaker, Mrs. Nazlia Shahputri. A little bit of information about our next speaker. She is the sustainability manager at IOE Corporation Web Hub. She's a sustainability practitioner who has dedicated her career for more than a decade in the plantation sector. She's a big fan of traveling and sharing her experiences both on issues related to sustainability and also personal motivation. She graduated from Pajajaran University for a bachelor's degree and Mercu Buana University for a master's degree. Okay, so without further ado, here is Mrs. Nazlia Shahputri.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good afternoon to all the Hello. Can you all hear my voice?
Yes, if I ask that all participants to mute their mic, please. Okay, we can hear your voice, Mrs. Nazlia.
Okay, thank you. Honorable committee and speakers and distinguished okay. Thank you for having me for this occasion. I think it is a sequence presentation from the first Mr. Roda and even Nidia have been talking about the deforestation and also UDR. Now I will explain a bit about what is the global market demand based on the further requirement that already Ms. Nidia already been told to us before. Allow me to share the screen. Okay. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
We can see you clearly.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
thank you. So we will talk about the traceability. As you may see on the screen of Ms. Nidia told about the article in IUDR, which mentioned about the data of geolocation and the address of the FFB source. This is what we call traceability. And on this presentation, we will supply chain of the palm oil before it comes into your bathroom or your bedroom. So here is our topics. So we will talk a bit about the supply chain of the palm oil. How long is the journey from the fresh fruit bunch get into the biscuit or the skincare you use every day. And the second thing is we will talk about the complexity of the traceability, especially for smallholder, as also Ms. Nidia already been talked to us previously. And the last one is about the traceability to plantation as one of the solution, as one of the initiative to solve the problem of the requirement from requirement from the buyer. So first thing, as you also have seen on the video previously, that 24 hours we are all realize or not, we already dependent to the palm oil. It is not only, if you talk about palm oil, it is not only talking about the cooking oil or the margarine, but it's also talking about anything, the fast moving consumer goods that we daily using from waking up until we go to rest at night. And it is not only talking about our personal daily life, but also our pet. But we love the pet, and realize or not, they're also dependent to the palm oil. So this dependency of the product in the palm oil sector will in the market will come to the crossroad, because on the further situation, not only about the dependency of the product itself, but in globally we can see here. Sorry, I will annotate first. Yeah. So in here we can see that the palm oil sector is a very labor intensive, especially for the developing country like Indonesia and Malaysia, because the employment they absorb the at least in Indonesia 4.2 million direct employment, and then 12,000 million of indirect employment. It is related to the contractor, to the suppliers, that also dependent to the sector. In general, broadly, we talk that like Indonesia gather the income from the export for more than 240 trillion from the palm oil sector. And also, if you talk about further also about the smallholder, palm oil smallholder becomes one of the most welfare smallholders if we compare to other commodity. But in the other hand, as the first presentation also mentioned, one of the campaign that reached by the palm oil is about deforestation, and also the GHG emission, and also the peatland, and also about the smoke and haze. So this positive and negative impact are happening now in the palm oil sector. So what's the solution for this? All the players, all of the palm oil players agreed that using the sustainable palm oil is the solution to maintain the positive impacts, and in another side, avoid the negative impact from the plantation operation. Because by using the sustainable palm oil, we can reduce the negative impact by following the requirement, and at the same time we keep the positive impact. It's not only for our personal, but broadly to the community and also the nation. Okay, so this is, sorry. So, okay, this is the palm oil supply chain, the long journey of palm oil supply chain before it comes to be a biscuit like Good Time comes to your house or in the supermarket. We depart from the plantation, which produce the FFB, and then they process the FFB in the mill and become CPO, crude palm oil, and also palm kernel, and it goes along the port. I mean the bulking and also the shipment, and go to the refinery to have the further production until it becomes a margarine and become a part of the ingredients for the cookies. It is one of the example beside other products that we already talked previously in the previous slide. So this is the long journey of the palm oil supply chain that we have to face. Every time we want to produce the vegetable oil from the palm oil. But then the word now is changing. They're not only asking about the quality of the product, they're more asking about the quality of the sustainable thing of the product instead of the quality of the product itself. So how to answer the requirement from the consumer or the buyer is by doing the traceable sustainability or the traceability. We for the production level, we will start from the plantation until the consumer. But for the traceability, we will go back from the consumer back to the retailer, to the downstream refinery, CPO mill until the plantation. And if you want to talk about the traceability, the biggest issue of traceability are located in the plantation, because it will talk about the land use change, and it might cause the issue of deforestation, as Mr. Roda already mentioned before. The certification has now become a solution. Like Ibu Nidia said, that Indonesia have ISPO. The other one is RSPO, or even Europe also have their own certification called ISCC. This is the solution to ensure that the product, the palm oil product that delivered to the consumer is well traceable or even certified, because the certification scheme helps buyer to identify the traceability of the product, because at the traceability system, as the traceability standard, they have their own mechanism how to trace back the product from a certain level, for example, like refinery or CPO mill until the plantation. They have at least they have two supply chain models recognized by the certification. One is the segregation, the other one is mass balance. Segregation or identity preserve. In our SPO, we recognize identity preserve, but the other certification, we only recognize segregation. It will ensure the fully traceable of the FFB product. But then in the mass balance, it will mix the raw material, the FFB, fresh fruit bunch, from the uncertified to the certified product. This is the condition where we still have the leakage to the untraceable product, even if we use the certification. If we look at the data, maybe for example, like smallholders, there are the increasing in our SPO certification from 6,520 to 8,442. This is one of the achievement that happened in our SPO certification. But in ISPO or in ISPO, for Indonesian certification, it is quite small number, even for the smallholder, to be certified. So this is one of the problem of the supply chain. Especially for the smallholder, we will face a biggest problem that we have to solve together. Why I thought it is a complexity? If we look at the WRI data on 2021 of the land development for palm oil in Indonesia, I talk in Indonesia because I live in Indonesia and I work for Indonesian plantation. So in Indonesia, we saw that only 40% land owning by the smallholders. It is also a big number if we compare to the state to the state company, only 3.84, while for the private sector, the land is developed for 55.84%. But potentially in 2030, the position become changed. So almost 60% of the land will be developed by the smallholders. We can see the progress now. If we compare, you may see the data between 2021 to 2023, 2022, there are increasing at least 1 to 2% of the land in the smallholder level. Smallholder, especially independent smallholder. So if we talk about smallholder, at least there is two kinds of the smallholder. It is a scheme smallholder, which is smallholder working with the company. So they have a contract to develop the certain land, and the company will organize the land. And the other one is the independent smallholder. Independent means that they are fully independent. There is no help from the corporation company. They will independently decide what we have to do, what they have to do on their land. So especially for the independent smallholder, it will become a main challenge. We will talk later why it become a main challenge, because the number it keep increasing, and the reason why I say is the main challenge is because independent smallholder have low awareness and also assistance, especially for sustainability aspect. We'll talk further about why it becomes a challenge. WWF create this infographic, which is, I think it is really helpful to us to understand the complexity of supply chain on the ground. You can see here in the middle, the green line is the supply chain of FFB from the nucleus. I mean, the estate owning by the company. It is understandable that it is fully traceable because it is owning by the company. Company manage the land. They should have all the data from where is the land they own. So it is fully traceable from the nucleus to the mill. The blue line is the scheme smallholder. As I said before, scheme smallholder are working together with the company, so they have like a contract, like an MOU to work on a certain years, usually on one cyclus, 25 years, to work together developing the palm oil plantation for them. All of the operation are managed by the company. They might be a leakage here for the untraceable FFB, because sometimes the farmers or the smallholders also have another land outside of the plasma. We call it plasma for scheme smallholder. The land of the scheme smallholder, we call it plasma. The smallholders sometimes have another land outside the plasma, and then when they go to the harvesting, they put the harvesting from outside of the plasma and put in a truck and go to the mill. It might be that the leakage for the untraceable, but still, since they are working together with the company, we still have the solution how to trace the untraceable FFB, because automatically if the harvesting is higher than the normal level, company must check what's going on the ground. This might be the problem, but it's a small leakage that immediately company can do the traceability. what's going on the ground, the biggest challenging is happening in here, because independent smallholder, they to reach the mill or to reach the company, they have to go to so many parties, to the other parties before they can reach the mill. Maybe they have to reach the broker first, or they have to reach the local agent first and then come to the brokers, and broker will go to the mill. Sometimes they go to the local traders and to the broker first and then to the mill, or local traders to the mill. This condition might be difficult for us to trace where is the FFB come from, because they can easily go to the local agent, to the local traders. Today they go to the local agent, tomorrow they go to the local agent, to the local traders, sorry. And from the local agent perspective, they also sometimes get the FFB randomly. They just waiting for in their office, and the suppliers from the smallholder will come to them. We don't know where they got the FFB. Either they steal it from the other plantation. They don't know. They just receive it randomly from the suppliers, and this might cause the difficulties for the traceability. If I say it is a challenge for the farmers or smallholders to include into the traceability, Dimas Fauzi in 2022 wrote the article in the Eco Business, said that with consumers being increasingly more conscious of what they purchase, demand for eco and sustainable labeling from certification providers will constantly increase. Yes, of course. Therefore, smallholder inclusion in traceability will create incremental changes towards achieving sustainable agricultural practices. But the problem is, how is the farmers can be included into the traceability? At least Fauzi also identified, at least there are three main things why the challenges that we face to include the farmers into the traceability. First thing about the land tenure security. It's happening in Indonesia, but I think it also happened in Southeast Asia, and other country in Southeast Asia, about the land administration. In Indonesia, we sometimes have a problem with the spatial plans, which is periodically changes, and it is not accurate with what is going on the ground. And also about the land title, as Ms. Rhoda also mentioned before on his slide, that the land title also the issue in the smallholder level. The other one is about the social construction, where the communal and customary land sometimes is they don't have any confession from the government. They can say it is their customary rights or customary land. So they don't have anything to say that it's that this is the land of the customary group. And also about the inherited land. For example, like in the patriarchal system, the women farmers who will lose their rights, their land rights, because of the system. The other problem is about the middleman accountability. As we know, most of them, the middleman, the agent, the traders, are lack of the record keeping. They don't have certain farmers profile. One of the reason, like I said before, because they buy randomly from the suppliers. They also don't have any data for yield per farmers gather. This is also the problem for the traceability, and also about the verification system, how they can check with this whether the land is truly there or whether the land is not containing the forest area. They don't have any verification system or mechanism to do so. And the other one is about the farmers' awareness. They don't have any knowledge about the sustainability aspect, including the traceability and also about the internet access. Most of the palm oil plantation are located in the remote area. Like I stay here now, I stay in the one of the most remote area in West Kalimantan. So we will face the internet access problem. Whenever we want to access the worldwide, it is difficult for us because of the internet access. So these three issues can cause the challenge of the farmers' inclusion. But now, are we concluded that the middleman or the agent is in trouble? I mean, disturb the system? I don't think so, because until now, middleman is still have a positive impact for the farmers. We can see here the dependency farmers to the middleman can cause the transport free for the farmers, because for the farmers who have a small number of land, they will have small number of harvesting. So it is not efficient for them to directly send the FFB to the mill. And also about the input assistance. Input and also loan for the personal needs and also cash payment, because middlemen oftenly give the loan for the farmers, either for the agricultural manner.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Nazlia. We
Maybe
are not receiving your audio and video.
Sorry.
Okay. There were some technical difficulties on your end. It's now all clear. Okay, please continue. Sorry.
Okay. I will turn off the video to stabilize the access room. I hope it is okay for us. So okay, we're back to the screen. So there is no contract between the middleman and also the farmers. Yes, it has the positive the positive aspect, since there is no contract, so farmers can easily go to other middlemen who have higher price, but they also have the negative impact, because there is no bondage between the middlemen and also the farmers. Lower price, yeah, we already know what's happening if middlemen happen. They will have the lower price because they also put the fee for them. And since there is no contract, so there is no program for capacity building and also information sharing for the smallholders. There are some of the negative impact of the middleman. So the solution come up with the idea of traceability to plantation. Why? Especially for the corporation, there are at least 3 reasons why the company should do that. One is about the building trust with the customer. The other one is for the compliance to the sustainability standard, and also about the risk management. As you may see here, I captured the dashboard from at least 5 companies. This one is Golden Agri, Musimas, Cargill, Neste Oil, who produce the biofuel, and also Nestle, who are actively monitor their traceability achievement. because this is the way of the company to build the trust with the customer. It is important to them to reach the market, and then to build the trust only at the small the buyer on the ground, but also like Ms. Nidia said, like to comply with the EUDR, and also another initiative of the customer. So to build the trust, company will do that, the traceability into the plantation. The other one is about the compliance, because as we may see on the standard requirement in ISPO, also the geolocation and also legal entity. These are the requirement that they have to, that the company have to fulfill to be certified for this standard, and the data will apply to all FFB source. There is no certain mechanism. I mean, there is no exact template how to do that. That's why again, company will create the mechanism to set due diligence for all FFB supplier, to get the geolocation, to get the address, and to ensure the location is not located in the forest area, for example. And then for the big number, currently there are so many platforms who already help the company to gather the data from the independent small homes. You may say like Cultiva, GeoTraceability. They are the platform that you may learn further how they can gather the data to get the traceability to plantation of the smallholder who are supply the FFB to the company. So I will stop here. So thank you very much for the thank you. I will send back to the MC. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Nazlia, for your presentation. I know that most people, most consumers, for example, just simply want sustainability. We don't want deforestation, but they don't actually know what's going on behind the scenes. So this presentation is very informative to let us know that the palm oil supply chain is very complex as this is a very large industry. So I would like to open up the Q&A session. First, we have Bridget from Universitas Sumatera Utara. Okay, time and place, we give to you, Mrs. Nazlia.
Yeah, I forgot. I'm still in mute. So, circularities, materials, and capture the waste. Yeah. I may not say it's not helping by implement the circular economy, but the problem is how we can get the data of the raw material. This is the very first step of the palm oil industry. So if then circular economy can do, like maybe currently there are some initiatives like jurisdiction approach where the industry are located in one place and they go along just on the jurisdiction. They already have the data in this jurisdiction, and they create the circular economic pattern in this jurisdiction, then yes, the answer is yes, that it can help the traceability. But then as long as the sourcing is come from the place, unknown place, then the company cannot identify where is the FFB come from, it still become a problem. As you may see on my screen before, on the WWF infographic, usually company, a mill, gather the FFB from the 50 kilometers way long from the location. 50 kilometers is not near. So the role of the middleman is really important here, so that we can gather the
Okay, Bridget, is there additional questions? Would you like to comment on the question?
No, I think it's already clear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we move on to the next question from Mr. Denny Arifin from USU. Time and place we give to you, Mrs. Nazlia.
Yeah, I might not say there is no traceability on the downstream level, but as we understood that the horizontal business is more difficult than the one is only located in the small area. I mean, like downstream level, they only have a place for maybe 2-3 hectares or even 10 hectares. As long as the data come from the company, I might say like that. In my experience, to do the traceability to mill and the traceability to plantation is so many different. Traceability to mill, we can identify. We realize that even traceability to mill, we have a problem. We have we get the fact that, oh, actually this mill is not there. The mill is actually is not exist. But how we can gather the data is quite easier, because we have like a bondage agreement with the suppliers which can we easily ask about the data. But if we're talking about the traceability to plantation, especially the data from the smallholders, as I may say before, since they don't have any knowledge about the requirement, not only about the smallholder, but also the middleman, the agent, the trader. They don't have enough knowledge or enough information about traceability. Since then, we still have a problem to gather the data. So that's why I say it is the biggest. That's the biggest issue when we talk about the plantation and even the land use change. If you want to talk further about the deforestation, thank you.
Okay, Mrs. Nazria, Mr. Denny, do you have additional questions or any follow-up questions?
No, it's really
Yeah,
clear.
sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Any more questions? Okay.
I saw the question from Ibu Diana.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we have, I think, one more question.
Receive directly to Ibu Dia. Thank you. I know her long experience. Concern is middleman, especially now we want to make ISPO as mandatory.
Hello. Maybe I lost you for a while because of my connection. Can I go through to the answer, Ibu? Hello? Someone hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we are able to hear you.
Mrs. Nazlia, you can answer the
Hello?
question. Yes.
Yeah.
I think we have some connection problems, so you can just straight to the answer.
Yeah, it's on my side. Thank you. Thank you, Ibu Diana, for the question. Yes, as we discussed before, that we cannot erase the middleman in the palm oil supply chain, because until now they have certain role to connect the smallholder to the company or to the mill. So what we can do is to do the capacity building and develop the management, the verification management, registration management in the middleman level. So what I have done before with the consultant as well, and also with the buyer and the NGO, is to visit the middleman first. So if we go directly to the farmers, we will just get lost, because by using the middleman, we will use like a snowball mechanism to know further where is the farmers, where is the FFB come from, where is usually farmers are located. Although they don't have any written data, but at least they can give such information of where is the farmers, how is the farmers, and the possibility to use the middleman is by do the capacity building. We already have certain mechanism on the ground at the company level, and what I'm doing as well right now is to spread the information, the same information, to well-educated them how to do the traceability to plantation. So at the end, we hope that even if company is not there, the middleman can do the due diligence first, at least to know the address. Even we teach them how to get the geolocation, and fill in the form of the traceability to plantation. So at the end, when the middleman have the new member or new supplier, they will immediately inform to us. There's the only way until now we can do to update the data. Otherwise, if we do by ourselves, I thinking the most we will have the lack of the traceability data at the farmer level. Okay.
Okay. For Mrs. Diana, how was the answer? Would you like to ask additional questions?
No, thank you very much. I will follow up directly, maybe later on. Thank you, Ibu Lia.
Thank you, Ibu.
Okay, and now we move on to our final question from Mr. Andi Irawan from Bengkulu University. Time and place is yours, Mrs. Nazlia.
Okay. As far as I know, maybe actually it is the question for Ibu Nidia, but I will know as far as I know. I will let you know as far as I know. Until now, ISPO is still being negotiated to the global market. I mean, since the first time 2011, ISPO is created by our government. The government has done a lot of things to engage the global market, like EU or other for the sustainability palm oil from Indonesia. But until now, what I know, you may see the article from WRI about Malaysia already been accepted by the China to be a standard for the sustainability palm oil, and for ISPO, even in China, it is still not accepted. So what we can do is to how to say it, to rearrange the standard of ISPO to be accepted, so that it can be accepted by the global. What the main problem, what I from why some reason the ISPO standard sometimes it's not really suitable with what requirement on the ground. So sometimes it's not there. For example, like the human rights, it's still not really there about the requirement and how's the compliance for the human rights. Although human rights now has become one of the issue at the global level. So maybe what I know currently also government is still in the progress to develop it to make it more suitable to the global market, including to make the regulation about the supply chain. In 2021, I am the one of the member who formed the draft for the supply chain. I mean the downstream, the ISPO for downstream. But I think I guess it is still under discussion in the government level. So yeah, just pray together that ISPO can also be accepted in the global market. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Nazlia. Mr. Andi, do you have any additional questions?
Yeah, the next question. I think it is waste time. Indonesia try to develop ISPO if ISPO itself not accepted by global community. What do your opinion about we focus to RSPO, this certification agree by international community of palm oil? Thank you, Bu.
Thank you, Pandi. I think as a national level, we have to, yeah, it is more talking about the national ambience spa. As a country which has the largest production, it is good for us to have our own standard, because we have a certain regulation which actually are influenced at the palm oil operation and palm oil industry. What we can do, just like RSPO, we can benchmark to RSPO, of course, because previously we are willing. What I know, we are really willing to have our own standard, but not benchmarking to other standard, including the RSPO. But the current one, the 2020 ISPO, I saw it is more negotiable. The government more benchmarking into the international standard. What is lacking now is the requirement for the downstream. That's why I said in 2021. We already formed the draft, because if you see the regulation, the Minister of Agriculture regulation about the ISPO standard, it is only talking about the upstream, about the sustainability aspect, but not talking about the supply chain. While if we want to use it for the global market, we have to be one step from the sustainability and also supply chain requirement, so that it can be accepted market. It is priorly to us, although MSPO created letter to ISPO. Previously, Malaysia learned from us in 2011 how to create their own sustainability standard. But then they are stepping forward faster. They create also the supply chain. That's why the global can accept faster than the ISPO one. So ISPO is, maybe I can say, it is waiting for the downstream level standard, so it can be one step and accepted to the global market. And also about the sustainability, there is maybe there are something that it needs any further touch to get the international level. That's all I can say. Thank you, Pak Andi.
Thank you, Bu Nazila.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Andi. Thank you, Mrs. Nazria. Mr. Andi, do you have a further question?
Oh, thank you.
Okay, thank you. With that question being answered, this marks the closing for our Q&A session. Thank you very much, Mrs. Nazria, for your time today. I know you're a busy person, so thank you very much for taking your time to give us this presentation, which has been very informative. And lastly, we would like to present to you our certificate of appreciation for being a valuable speaker in this workshop. Once again, thank you very much, Mrs. Nazria. I hope you have a good day. I hope we can see you again in the near future. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for having me. Merci beaucoup. Shukriya. And we'll see you again in another occasion. Thank you. Allow me to leave. Have a good day and have a good workshop going forward.
Thank you, Mrs. Nazria.
Thank you, Julian.
Okay. Before we get into our post-test, we have one more video to show you all. Here is the video.
Found in more than half of the products we consume on a daily basis. Palm fruit oil is sourced from fresh fruits, growing on oil palm trees that can be found in most regions along the equator. But how do we go from a fresh fruit bunch to a consumer product? And how can we trace the oil back to its origins? This brings us to the concept of traceability. What is it, and what does it mean in practice? After harvesting, the fresh fruit bunches are delivered to an oil palm mill, where the fruit is processed into crude palm oil. An oil mill can receive fresh fruit bunches from several plantations, smallholders, and/or collectors. Since fresh fruit bunches have to be processed within 48 hours after harvest, most of the mill's supply base is located within a radius of about 50 kilometers. The oil from these at different location-grown fruits is mixed in the mill. From there, the crude oil can be transported directly to a refinery in the country of origin, or to a load port for shipment to a refinery overseas in, for example, Europe, India, or China. On its way, the transporting vessel could even take in oil from other regions. Therefore, a refinery in Europe or China, for example, can be supplied by numerous mills from several countries. In this European refinery, crude palm oil is further processed into the desired palm oil products that are used in various applications such as food, feed, home, and personal care products or biofuels. Since refining is a continuous process, a constant input of crude palm oil is required. As we have seen, the crude palm oil was supplied from different origins. So, when we speak about traceability in the palm oil supply chain, it means we can identify all the palm oil mills that could have been supplying the oil in your product. Knowing that most of the mill's supply base is located within a radius of 50 kilometers, traceability provides you with a list of potential mills of origin. Any verification of sustainable practices on the oil supplied by a certain mill should happen in this area. Therefore, traceability is a tool to help companies along the palm oil supply chain to identify the origin of the oil sourced. Knowing the potential mills and their locations make it possible to identify and monitor if sustainable practices are adopted at origination. For more information, please visit our website.
Okay, that was the video. I hope it can give all of us some further insight into this industry. And now we move on to our post-test, which will have two sections, namely the deforestation section and the global market demand section. Please use this link that has been shared in the chat to join to join this website, and please share your responses using the link that has been shared in the chat. Yeah. For all participants, please join the mensi.com and use the code as seen in the screen. So participants can type mensi.com and then type in the code 26748256. Right, we have only one person joining. Yes, big yes. Okay. Can more participants join, please, so we can have a general idea on what your perceptions are. Okay, everyone is answering yes. That's great because it's a very crucial issue on a global scale. Okay, 7 responses, all yes. I think we'll just wait for a couple of more responses and then we'll move on to the next question. Right, I think the majority has answered yes. I think it's better to move on to the next question. Next question, please. Next question, please. Oh, what do you know? Okay. Okay, like the last question, please simply type your response. All right, I think our first response is incomplete. It is the major cause of what? Just type in your bisa respond line. I think just type in another response. Okay. Agriculture, mostly cattle. Forest disappearing. Yeah. That's the definition. So mostly cattle are maybe like mostly cattle are affected by deforestation, I think. Okay, we'll wait for some more responses and we'll move on to the next question. Yes, clearing and removal. Humans are the cause of almost every bad thing on this planet. Negative effect. Yep, negative effect. Environment and biodiversity. I think it means the negative effect is there. change in forest area. Yep. Okay, we have 11 responses. I think we can move on to the next question. Okay, do you know about palm oil? Well, I hope so, because it's a workshop on palm oil, right? Yeah, yes, YES. I expected nothing less. Okay, fourth. Give me a couple more responses and we'll move on to the next one. We only have 4 people responding right now. Oh, I think that it was lagging a bit over there. Definitely, it's one of the most what, important for daily essentials. Yeah, definitely. I've seen in the video before. Palm oil and fruit oil, commodities. Okay, we got 12 responses already. I think we can move on to our next question. Do you think oil palm plantation is part of the deforestation issue? So, controversial topic, I think, this one. But at least we have the material that was given by I think Dr. John McRoda as a supplement to your perceptions. Yes, but not the majority. Yes, this is a fruit oil. Yes, okay. The majority still thinks it's a part of the deforestation issue. Deforestation, but not all. Yeah. Okay. Yep, it is responsible for some, but not all. Some extension of palm oil plantation can lead to, yes, it can lead to deforestation if you make your plantation in forest areas. Your opinion, you care about. Yep. And they are the ones that mostly bring up this issue, the EU. Okay, we have 11 responses already. Let's move on to the next one. Why? I think this is maybe asking, why is palm oil part of the deforestation issue? Just give a short answer, maybe 3 words. Yeah, exactly 3 words. That's what I want. Like land, change, land, tenure. Yep. Because if you write your answer, if it's too long of an answer, as you can see before, it gets cut out, and sometimes you can't make sense of what you're trying to say. Is a large land, change land tenure. Yep. Deforestation, can happen. Need more land for plantation. Remember, guys, if you can summarize your answers to maybe like 3 or 4 words, just do so. Even if it doesn't have proper grammar, maybe like just, for example, I'm gonna say use less words, or maybe, like that. Frustration can happen. So I think this one is cut out, like, because when we need, I think that one is too long, so it got cut out. from this first speaker. Nice answer from this first speaker. Elaborate, man. Okay, we got 9 responses already. A couple of more responses, and we'll move on to the next one. EU regulation. Many researchers show that. See, I'd like to remind you again to please condense your answers to maybe like 3 or 4 words. Okay, we got 12 responses already. Let's move on to the next one. This is gonna be, I think it's gonna be to the second topic, namely global market demand. So we're gonna use a different link. Just input, go to mensi.com and input the new code that will be shown on screen, or simply use the link that has been shared on the chat. Please hold on a second, guys. The team is still preparing. Okay, you can use the link on the chat, or you can use this code. Okay, our sponsor so far is an importer of palm oil. Oh, we have the biggest exporter too. Biggest exporter, biggest production, more than processing, but there's also not the major importer. Okay, we have 11 responses already. I think we can move on to the next one. You use palm oil derivative products in your daily activities. Just like that video that you played before, where there's a guy that goes into the office, you can see that almost every aspect of his life has a palm oil product in it. Yep, I think most of us use palm oil products in our daily lives, even if just a little. Okay, we have 3, we have 4, everybody uses, so far everybody uses palm oil products. Yeah, 9 responses, everybody uses them. Okay, we have a couple more responses and we'll move on to the next one. Couple more cooking oil, soap. Yep, who doesn't use cooking oil, right? Who doesn't use soap? Okay, I think we can move on to the next question. Do you know about sustainably managed palm oil? Yeah, like in the presentation before about RTO, ISPO certifications that show sustainable management. Do you know about this? Not clearly, yes. Yes, maybe the information is, I mean, the principles and criteria are maybe unclear to some people, little bit, but not that much. I think because some principles and criteria are maybe complex, and maybe the RSPO, because for ISPO, ISPO, that's specifically for Indonesian plantations. Plantation traceability, yeah, just like in the last presentation, not clearly. Yes. So even though there are most know about these sustainable management of palm oil, I think there are also some that that are not clear on this topic. Okay, Thank you. Let's move on to the next one. What is the global market demand for palm oil supply chain or palm oil industry? Just give your estimates. But if you know the exact number, I don't think you should be here. I think you should be managing your own industry. Okay, maybe it's different, right? In other specific parts of the world. So I don't know the specifics myself, but that's where you guys come in. You can type in your responses. Educate me too. I don't really know much about the global market demand. Or like 50, 60 billion USD. Then I wish I had that much money. It's high demand, highly needed. Some say it's a necessary evil, you know, because of the deforestation and stuff, but it's cheap and it's applicable to a lot of things that we use in our daily lives. Yeah, exactly, for daily products. Highly needed. From making forest fires to not destroy the environment. Yeah, that's the concerns of I think the European Union, the Western countries, I think, because in my experience, the Western countries and the Europe and the American stuff, they are more concerned about sustainability. I mean, specifically the consumers. Capacity. Okay, we have 12 responses already. Let's move on to the next one. Oh, I think that's the end of it. So I guess that's it for today's workshop. I would like to remind all participants. To make their summary video. And there is one more thing. I would like to remind you that we have a summer course from data. Yeah, please wait a moment. We'll get a clear picture. I don't clear the picture now. Okay, so while we get a clear picture, the date is from the 13th of from the 13th to the 19th of November this year. So if you're interested, you can apply with the links that will be shared in your WhatsApp group and in the chat. There's a lot of activities. For the first days will be materials, just like this workshop. We have a presentation, discussion, and so on and so forth. But after that, we have a field trip. You can see for yourself what the palm oil industry is like in Indonesia. So as Mrs. Diana Halil said, there are 20 scholarships for foreign students and 10 scholarships for local students. Okay, I think that's all for today. Once again, don't forget to create your summary videos for today's topics. We will wait for your submissions until 8 o'clock. The links will be shared in your WhatsApp group. And once more, we have the summer course from the 13th to the 19th of November. If you are interested, you can register with us. Okay. Once again, thank you everybody. Thank you for the speakers. Thank you for all participants. Thank you everybody for your time today. I know we're in different time zones, so I know some have to make more sacrifices than others to stay up late and so on and so forth to give your free time for this workshop. Thank you, everybody. Good afternoon. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi.
Thank you very much. Please don't forget that the summary is the same for every group. So if you see the topic in the mixed group is only for the last year presentation. So we are really waiting for your summary. Just want to make sure that the presentation is useful and delivered as expected. So
our planet's forests are some of the most valuable resources we have. They provide us with clean air, a source of food, construction material, and much more. Even more importantly, forests are a major line of defense against climate change. A single tree can absorb as much as 48 pounds of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere each year, which makes them the most effective CO2 scrubbing machines we have. Despite this, forests are being systematically eliminated all across the world. A process we know as deforestation. Each year, 15 billion trees are lost to deforestation and forest degradation. That's 36 football fields worth of trees a minute and accelerating. At this rate, the world's rainforests may be completely gone within 100 years. This makes deforestation responsible for around 13% of the world's carbon emissions, making it a major driver of climate change. Not only do we need trees to absorb our carbon, when they're removed, much of the carbon they have stored is released. Rapidly growing agriculture is responsible for the vast majority of deforestation. Global demand for food, especially meat, forces millions of acres of forest to be cleared for cattle, soybean plantations, and palm oil production. Timber and fuel extraction, as well as wildfires, drive the partial destruction of forests, known as degradation. All of this is driven by our relentless economic expansion and population growth, both set to continue increasing dramatically. While harvesting timber is necessary for our economy, unrestrained deforestation can lead to the disruption of weather patterns and the collapse of entire ecosystems, threatening our safety and other resources we depend on. So what's the solution? Can we stop this seemingly unstoppable force? The short answer, yes, but it'll take some work. Research has shown that it is possible to decouple economic growth from deforestation by reconfiguring our supply chains and adopting sustainable land use policies. Thanks to the efforts of activists, policymakers, and businesses around the world, deforestation is actually slowing down in some regions. Finally, reforestation and afforestation efforts are growing worldwide. One Tree Planted works with partners all across the globe to restore damaged forests and plant new ones. You can become a part of these efforts by volunteering to plant trees in your area or supporting these initiatives abroad.